All right, welcome back to another rankings video for wide receivers. This is week 5. Week 4 kind of went pretty good for most of the receivers, especially on the start-sit side. A couple of guys that, little expectations might have been subpar, but hey, we're going to go ahead and jump into week 5 wide receiver rankings. Go ahead and start the list off with Tyreek Hill versus the Giants at number 1. Didn't have the best game against the Bills. However, against the Giants, this is a great matchup for him to get right back on track. Maybe even blow up for 40 points. We'll wait and see. Number 2, we got Justin Jefferson versus the Chiefs. A good matchup for Justin Jefferson here. Chiefs have not been terrible against the pass, but again, it just seems like Justin Jefferson is matchup proof. Doesn't matter who he's facing or whatever's going on. Kirk Cousins will find a way to find him, and that's why he's number 2. Number 3 is finally Stephon Diggs versus Jacksonville. Now, this will be in London, so it's not really a home game, even though the Bills are considered a home team. But it seems like the Diggs-Allen connection is finally back on where it needed to be. Diggs finally exploding off the scene with over 30 points in Week 4. Let's see if that continues in Week 5 against Jacksonville's all-right pass defense. Number 4, we got A.J. Brown at the Rams. A.J. Brown, again, another guy that we finally get to see explode off the scene. He's been a little subpar so far, maybe a little bit below average of what we expected him to do right out the gate, and he finally has had 2 good back-to-back games, and we love to see that. And going up against the Rams, another good matchup here for A.J. Brown. Number 5 is going to be Jamar Chase at the Cardinals. Even though if Joe Burrow is not putting up points for fantasy, Jamar Chase is definitely doing so. And now T. Higgins has a rib injury after week 4, so that's definitely going to open up more opportunity for Jamar Chase. That's why he's number 5. Number 6 is going to be Amon-Ra St. Brown versus the Panthers. Panthers' pass defense has been pretty good. However, it seems like another guy who's going to continue to just put up 17 or more points every single week. He's just going to be a low-end wide receiver low-end wide receiver 1, high-end wide receiver 2. He's getting close to that breakthrough of where he was last year, and I expect that to continue throughout the year. If not that, he's going to continuously be a start, it seems like, with those numbers, regardless of what wide receiver 1 or 2, whichever one you want to put him in your fantasy lineups. Number 7 is going to be Devontae Adams versus the Packers. This is a home game for Devontae Adams, and it's going to be a good matchup for him. Let's just see if Jimmy Garoppolo plays. He was in concussion protocol after week 3, and then week 4 he did not play, so we'll see what happens there. But again, this should be a good matchup regardless of who's at quarterback for Devontae Adams. Number 8 is going to be CeeDee Lamb at the 49ers. Yes, he has not been exploding off the scene like you might see with Tyreek Hill, with Stephon Diggs and Justin Jefferson, but he's putting up a subpar numbers, pretty par numbers. 14 points last week, not terrible. Obviously, you'd want to see that go up more, especially against the Patriots. Now you get the 49ers, but the 49ers actually gave up a good amount of points to Marquise Brown. So CeeDee Lamb being a little bit of a better talent than Marquise Brown, I'm not too worried about CeeDee Lamb actually this week. Number 9 is going to be Cooper Kupp. Now this is determining if he becomes active off the IR. He is expected back this week. Now let's see what happens. Now he's at home against the Eagles, which would be a perfect game for him to come back. Lower expectations on, his explosiveness right out the gate, but I still see him getting about maybe 15 to 20 points in that range week 1 back for him. Number 10 is going to be Brandon Ayuk versus the Cowboys. Brandon Ayuk and Christian McCaffrey ran that game last week against the Cardinals. And it just seems like Brandon Ayuk, as long as he can stay healthy, is going to be in this top 10 matchup for me. That's why he's ranked number 10. Number 11 is going to be Chris Olave at the Patriots. Definitely a guy who didn't do very well last week, but against the Patriots and seeing what Michael Gallup did and seeing what CeeDee Lamb did against them, I'm not too worried about this matchup. This is a good bounce back for him. That's why he's number 11. Number 12, we got Jalen Waddle versus the Giants. Again, similar situation with Tyreek Hill, except for Tyreek Hill has that. He's just going to be a lock regardless. Jalen Waddle, this is a game for him to bounce back, especially after that concussion injury. Definitely a good matchup for him. Number 13 is going to be Nico Collins. Every single week he has put up almost 20 points, if not over 20 points, except for week 3. Now, that being said, this is a matchup against the Falcons and Atlanta. Atlanta does have a tough pass defense, but there's just so many guys that C.J. Stroud is connecting with, and being a rookie quarterback, Nico Collins seems to be his favorite target. I love it. Put him at number 13. Number 14 is Devonta Smith at the Rams. A good matchup as well, like we said with A.J. Brown. Devonta Smith obviously has been taking a little bit of a step back with A.J. Brown getting more targets, but he's still being fantasy viable, which is great. That's why he's number 14. Number 15 is Terry McLaurin versus the Bears. Bears defense has just got awful. This team has just been disappointing after disappointing. They have been a terrible team all year. Even with how bad Sam Howell's played, I expect this to be a bounce back game for him as well. But Terry McLaurin's going to be his number 1 target, so that's why he's sitting at number 15, middle of the pack for me. Number 16 is a guy who, regardless of the Bears' struggles, is consistently putting up fantasy points, and that's DJ Moore at the Commanders. This is going to be a good matchup for DJ Moore as well to possibly continue to build off of what he's done already. I mean, the way Justin Fields has been playing compared to DJ Moore, I mean, this is ridiculously absurd. So DJ Moore is going to be number 16 for me. 17 is going to be Puka Nacua, a guy who's still going to make it my top 30 for the rankings until I see otherwise. This is against the Eagles. He is home against the Eagles. But Cooper Kupp's obviously going to come back and probably be the main guy for Matthew Stafford. Even though Nacua was that guy for Stafford, I still expect him to get a good amount of targets, pretty close to maybe 10 targets a game still moving forward. Number 18 is going to be Deebo Samuel. Yes, he did not put up any points in week 4. However, this is a good matchup for him, especially against the Cowboys. I don't know if he would be lined up more against Diggs. Obviously, Diggs has that ACL injury. He's done for the year. So, obviously, depending on how they slot that, that's going to be a big matchup here for Samuel or Brandon Ayuk, like I stated, at number 10. Number 19 is going to be Michael Pittman Jr. versus the Titans. It seems like this is just a way to continuously attack the Titans, is just constantly passing against them. They have a terrible pass defense. Michael Pittman gets Anthony Richardson back last week, and I feel like that connection is about ready to take it to the next level, so we'll see what happens in that one, but he's right now sits number 19. Number 20 is DeAndre Hopkins. Again, another exact same game, It's against the Colts in Indianapolis, but DeAndre Hopkins is the only guy that is fantasy viable in that wide receiver room in Tennessee. Number 21 is going to be Zay Flowers at the Steelers. Even if Odell comes back with that ankle injury or Rashad Bateman comes back with that injury he sustained a couple weeks ago, Zay Flowers is the guy getting the target when they were there or not. He's the main guy for Lamar Jackson. And now the Steelers are without their quarterback in Kenny Pickett, so I expect that defense to be on the field a little bit more, and that's going to tire them out, which might open up a couple more explosive plays for Zay Flowers. That's why he's number 21. Number 22 is going to be Romeo Doubs, a guy, whether Christian Watson is here, just continues to put up points. I mean, he's almost 17, 18 points every single week, except for, I think, 1 week in week 2. Romeo Doubs at the Raiders is going to be a good matchup for him. I mean, the Raiders' defense on the pass is not the best, and that's why I expect Romeo Doubs to continue that. Number 23 is going to be Courtland Sutton versus the Jets, the main guy for Russell Wilson here as well. And the Jets' defense has not been the best, except for last game against the Chiefs, which nobody's seen that coming in week 4, in my opinion. I didn't see that coming. But Courtland Sutton is going to have a good day against the Jets, whether that's a low-end wide receiver 1 or a high-end wide receiver 2. He's going to be in that mix, and I expect that to continue in week 5. Number 24 is going to be Christian Watson. Finally came back. Now, he did get a touchdown. Obviously, did not really do a whole lot, but that touchdown definitely helped his value. Now, against the Raiders and finally getting a week back on the field against a tough Lions defense. Now he gets the Raiders. This is definitely a good matchup for Watson to potentially break out into that wide receiver 1 and still continuing with Romeo Doubs being a high-end wide receiver 2 or kind of that 1A, 1B type of flex, kind of like what you see with Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel, but we'll see. Number 25 is going to be Gabe Davis, another good matchup here against the Jaguars, similar to what you're going to see with Stephon Diggs, but obviously Diggs is going to be the number 1 guy for Josh Allen. Now let's just see what Davis can do here. I like the matchup here, and that's why he's 25. 26 is going to be Christian Kirk at the Bills. He's just been getting targets after targets after targets, and he catches almost every single one of them, and when he does, he turns upfield and he's able to get more yardage. I love it. I love the matchup. Even though it's a tough matchup, I still think Christian Kirk is going to have enough upside with the targets, and it's in London. No home field advantage for the Bills here, and that's why I'm not too worried about it, even though the Bills' defense is really good. Number 27 is going to be Garrett Wilson at the Broncos. The Broncos' secondary is absolutely terrible. They gave up a lot of points to the Bears, and then the Broncos came back on the offensive side of the ball. However, Garrett Wilson finally seems to have that connection with Zach Wilson, and that's definitely going to be a moving factor. Now, it just depends on if Zach Wilson turns into Zach Wilson against the Chiefs or Zach Wilson of week 2 and 3. That's going to be the ultimate factor there. We'll have to wait and see. Number 28 is going to be Michael Thomas, a guy who got similar amount of looks like Chris Olave. However, he had more of the productive day over Chris Olave, but in this matchup, I just think that Chris Olave is obviously the younger, faster, quicker guy. I just think that this is the way that for him to finally bounce back and have that explosiveness again against the Patriots, kind of like the Cowboys did for the most part. Just getting, both fantasy guys in fantasy points for Gallup and CeeDee Lamb. I expect the same here for Chris Olave and Michael Thomas. However, Michael Thomas is more of that lower end wide receiver 2 on that team for me. I just like him at 28. Number 29 is going to be Tank Dell. Yes, he did not have a good week 1, and yes, he did not have a good week 4. However, week 2 and 3, he did really well. And against the Falcons, they are good against the pass. No matter what their record says or how their team has given up points, they are pretty good against the pass. They're in the top 10. So, that being said, Tank Dell is going to be the secondary look other than Nico Collins. Both guys are probably going to be a start or at least close to a start. I'm going to factor that in here when I do my start sit here in the next day or two. And then number 30 is going to be Michael Gallup, a guy who is consistently getting better now. It seems like they're targeting him more. 15 points, it seems like in almost 2 games here, pretty close to it. He's starting to be able to take more targets away from CeeDee Lamb, and that's going to be a little bit of an issue if you're a CeeDee Lamb owner. But CeeDee Lamb is obviously going to be the better receiver, so I'm not too worried about it. I would keep an eye on that, though, because CeeDee Lamb might start becoming a wide receiver 2 here in fantasy lineups. But that's going to do it for our wide receiver rankings in Week 5. Make sure you go ahead and like, subscribe, drop a comment if you have any questions on why I put somebody there, or if you want to switch somebody around, give me your list. We're all for it. Give us your top 30 in the comments. But other than that, you guys have a good one. Make sure you look out for the quarterback video later.